My own family ripping me apart like I was nothing. It started with a simple mistake, or maybe fate had decided I needed to hear the truth. My older sister, Emily, had tossed her old phone aside when she upgraded to a new one, and since mine was barely holding together, I started using it. I didn't even think to wipe it clean. One night, I was lying in bed, scrolling, when a notification popped up. A group chat, family priorities, a chat I had no idea existed. My curiosity got the best of me, and I tapped on it. Emily. Ugh, she's so pathetic. She'll always put us first even when we treat her like trash. Mom, that's what she's for. She's never had a backbone. Just like Dad. Emily, it's actually hilarious. She works extra shifts to help with bills, but she won't ever do anything for herself. Mom, because she knows she's not worth more than that. Emily, I bet if we asked, she'd give up her college fund to help with my wedding. Mom, we should test that. The screen blurred as tears burned my eyes. My fingers trembled as I gripped the phone. They were laughing at me, mocking me. The people I had spent my entire life sacrificing for, staying up late to cook dinner when Mom was too tired, giving Emily money when she needed it, always putting them before myself, and they thought I was pathetic for it. I clenched my jaw, forcing down the lump in my throat. My body shook, but not from sadness anymore. From rage. They thought they had me trapped. They thought I'd keep taking it forever. I let them believe it, until the moment I walked away for good. I spent the next few days pretending nothing had changed. I still helped cook, still picked up extra hours to make sure the bills were paid, still nodded and smiled when Emily whined about her wedding plans. But inside, I was done. Every word they spoke was like knives scraping against my skin. Every fake smile made my stomach turn.
I wasn't part of this family.
I was their servant, and they had no idea I knew it. Then, Emily came home one evening, practically glowing. I found the perfect wedding venue, she announced, dropping into the chair beside me. Oh, I feigned interest. Yeah, but there's a problem. She pouted. It's a little out of budget. But I was thinking you wouldn't mind chipping in, right? Mom chimed in without hesitation. You don't need college right now, honey. Emily's wedding is more important.
I stared at them.
The audacity. They had already decided I would hand over the money. But I just smiled. Of course. Because they had no idea what was coming. That night, I pulled up my bank account and transferred every single penny out of my college fund into a new account under my name only. Then I made a plan. For the next few weeks, I did exactly what they expected of me. I played the perfect, obedient girl. I made their lives easy. I even let Emily cry to me about her dress fittings, her guest list, and her stupid, extravagant wedding cake. But behind the scenes, I was preparing to leave. I started selling off things they wouldn't notice missing, old jewelry, handbags, anything of value. Every dime went into my new account. And then I got the final piece of the puzzle. A job offer. Far away. A place where they couldn't reach me. My escape. The breaking point came sooner than I expected. One evening, Emily stormed into my room, eyes blazing. You haven't sent the money for the venue yet. I feigned confusion. Oh, I thought I did. She scowled. Check again. Mom said she called the place, and they haven't gotten the payment. Mom appeared in the doorway, arms crossed. We need that money now, sweetheart. This isn't about you. Something inside me snapped. I rose to my feet, feeling something dangerous settle inside me. I don't have the money anymore, I said, my voice even. I used it. Emily paled. For what? For me. For the first time in my life, I watched panic creep across their faces. Mom stepped forward, voice sharp. That money was for the family. I laughed. Actually laughed. You mean it was for Emily? Their silence was answer enough. That was the moment I walked away for good. They screamed, begged. Emily's shrieks rang through the house. How could you do this to me? Mom's voice was shaking. Where are you going to go? You don't have anywhere else. But they were wrong. I grabbed my packed suitcase, the one they had never even noticed sitting in my closet, and slung it over my shoulder. I got a job. I said calmly. I have my own place. I don't need you anymore. I had never seen my mother look so afraid. Not of losing me, of losing her punching bag. I walked past them, out the door, into a life where I finally mattered. Silence. That was all they got from me. After years of being their doormat, after sacrificing everything for them while they mocked me behind my back, I had finally stopped playing along. And now, they were unraveling. My mother, who had always spoken to me like I was some unfortunate obligation, was suddenly desperate for my attention. Emily, my perfect older sister, the one they all praised while treating me like a background character in my own life, had nothing without me. They had spent years treating me like I was disposable. Now they were realizing the truth. I wasn't disposable. I was the foundation holding everything together. And I had just walked away. I settled into my new life, but old habits died hard. At first, I caught myself hesitating at the grocery store, debating whether I should buy the cheaper meal so I could save money for the household bills. Except, there were no household bills. Not anymore. No one waiting at home, expecting me to cook dinner. No one calling me up, demanding I cover for their mistakes. Just me. For the first time in my life, my money belonged to me. So I bought the good coffee, the soft blankets, the little things I never let myself have before. And when I got home, I sat in my tiny apartment, drinking coffee in complete silence. No yelling, no demands, just peace. I had never felt peace before. The first time I went out with my coworkers after work, it felt surreal. I had always assumed I wasn't the kind of person people invited out. I was the reliable one. The one people called when they needed something, but never the one they wanted around. But here I was sitting in a small restaurant, laughing with people who actually liked me. Not because they could use me. Not because they felt entitled to my time. Just because they enjoyed my company. I felt something foreign settle in my chest. Something warm. Belonging. I never realized how starved I was for it until now. It had been 2 months since I last spoke to my family. 2 months of silence. 2 months of rebuilding. 2 months of freedom. And then one evening, my phone buzzed. A message from Emily. I can't believe you're doing this to us.
To me.
Do you even care about family? I stared at the screen, disgust curling in my stomach. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't reflecting. She was still trying to guilt me. Still trying to manipulate me. I took a deep breath, steadying my emotions. Then I did something I never imagined myself doing. I blocked her. I blocked my mother. I blocked every number they could possibly use. For the first time in my life, I chose myself. And it felt amazing. Days turned into weeks. I expected more messages. Maybe even them showing up at my door. But they didn't. Instead, I started hearing things. My extended family, who had always been conveniently unaware of how I was treated, started reaching out. Some of them tried to guilt me. Your mother is struggling. She's devastated you're gone. Emily's wedding was canceled, and she's heartbroken. You should be there for her. I ignored them all. But then, one of my cousins, someone who had always been kind to me, despite keeping his distance, sent a very different message. I heard what happened. I just want you to know, I'm proud of you for walking away. They never deserved you. I stared at the message, my throat tightening. Someone saw me. Someone understood. Tears pricked my eyes, but this time, they weren't from sadness. They were from relief. One afternoon, I got an email from my mother. It was short.
Cold. To the point.
I hope you're happy.
You ruined this family.
I read it once. Then again. And then I laughed. She actually thought I was the problem. Not the years of belittling me. Not the way they had used me, taken from me, expected me to sacrifice everything for them.
No.
To her, I was the villain for finally choosing myself. I didn't even bother replying. I simply deleted the email and went on with my day. Months passed. I flourished. I got promoted at work. I made real friends. I found a version of myself I never knew existed, a version that wasn't defined by their approval. And then, one day, I saw them again. I had just stepped into a cafe when I heard it. Oh my God. I turned. Emily. She looked different.
Stressed.
Tired. Like someone who had never learned how to take care of herself because she always had someone else to do it for her. For a split second, old habits kicked in. A flicker of concern. A part of me that wanted to ask if she was okay. Then I remembered. She wasn't my responsibility anymore. Her mouth opened. I turned away, walked to the counter, ordered my coffee. I could feel her staring, waiting, hoping I would acknowledge her. I didn't. She had spent years treating me like I was invisible. Now she finally knew how it felt. The encounter with Emily at the cafe left me feeling nothing. I had spent years thinking I would always feel obligated to them, that no matter how much they hurt me, I could never fully disconnect. But as I watched her standing there, eyes wide, lips parted like she was searching for the perfect words to pull me back, I realized something monumental. I didn't owe her anything. Not a smile. Not an acknowledgement. Not even pity. She was nothing to me now. And that freedom tasted sweeter than I ever imagined. But deep down I knew this wasn't over. Not yet. Because Emily wasn't the only one who wanted something from me. Mom was waiting in the shadows. And it was only a matter of time before she made her move. 3 days later, my prediction came true. A knock on my door.
Loud.
Unrelenting. I didn't need to check the peephole. I already knew.
Mom.
I considered ignoring it, letting her stand outside in the cold, just like she had left me out in the cold for years.
But no.
I wanted to face her. I wanted her to see me, not as the pathetic, spineless girl she had once controlled, but as the woman who had walked away from her for good. I opened the door. She stood there, arms crossed, her mouth pressed into a tight line. "You look well," she said. The words weren't kind. They were accusatory. Like she couldn't stand the fact that I was thriving without her. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "What do you want?" She exhaled sharply, her gaze shifting. "Can I come in?"
No.
She flinched. It was the first time in my life I had ever denied her anything. But I had nothing left to give. She sighed, rubbing her forehead.
Fine.
"We'll talk here." I didn't respond. I let the silence stretch. I wanted her to feel uncomfortable, to realize she was no longer in control. After a moment, she cleared her throat. "I know you've been avoiding us," she said, "but it's time to stop being childish." I almost laughed. Childish? Walking away from the people who mocked and used me was childish? I tilted my head. "How so?" Her jaw clenched. "We're family. We don't just abandon each other." I let the words settle, let the hypocrisy hang in the air. Then I said it. "You abandoned me a long time ago." Her eyes snapped to mine. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. A long silence stretched between us. I could see it in her face, the way her fingers tightened into fists, the way her lips pursed as she tried to force herself to stay calm. Mom didn't like losing control. She had spent her whole life molding me into the perfect, obedient daughter. The one who would sacrifice everything and ask for nothing in return. And now, that daughter was gone. "I don't know what you're talking about," she finally said, her voice clipped. "We've always taken care of you." I let out a slow breath, shaking my head. "That's not true." Her eyes flickered. "Of course it is." "You called me pathetic," I said evenly. "You and Emily laughed about how I would always put you first even when you treated me like trash. You said I was only useful when I was sacrificing for you." Her face paled. I smiled. "You don't even deny it." She exhaled sharply. "I don't have time for this." "No." I cut her off. "You don't have time for me. You never did. Unless you needed something." Her nostrils flared. "That's not true." I folded my arms. "So, you're here just to check in? Not to ask for anything?" She hesitated. And that was all the answer I needed. She sighed heavily, rubbing her temples like she was the one suffering here. Then finally she dropped the act. "Fine," she snapped. "Yes, I need something." Of course she did. She squared her shoulders, regaining some of her usual cold confidence. Emily's struggling. She hasn't been the same since the wedding fell apart. I said nothing. Mom sighed. She needs help. Financial help. I let out a slow, disbelieving breath. You're unbelievable. She frowned. Excuse me? She treated me like dirt, I said, my voice calm but laced with steel. She humiliated me, mocked me, used me. And now that her life is falling apart, you expect me to swoop in and save her. She's your sister. I let out a dry laugh. No, she's not. Mom's eyes widened slightly. What do you mean? I don't have a sister, I said simply. Not anymore. The words tasted like freedom. Mom's expression hardened. You're being cruel. No, I said, stepping forward, my voice low and firm. Cruel is what you did. Cruel is calling your own daughter pathetic behind her back. Cruel is expecting me to destroy my future just so Emily can have a wedding she didn't deserve. Her lips pressed together. You're making a mistake. I smiled.
No.
I'm finally making the right choice. I took a step back and closed the door at her face. The moment the lock clicked into place, a wave of relief washed over me. I had won. For years, I had been their puppet, their bank, their punching bag. Not anymore. I didn't check if she was still standing there. I didn't care. I turned around, walked into my apartment, and curled up on the couch. And for the first time in my life, I let myself breathe. Days passed. Then weeks. Mom didn't come back. Emily never tried again. And just like that, the weight I had carried for so long disappeared. I flourished. I traveled. I made friends who actually valued me. I lived. And I never once missed them. One day, while walking through the city, I saw them again. Mom and Emily, sitting in a small cafe, their faces grim. They looked different. Not the polished, perfect people they had once been. They looked tired, stressed, like people who had finally realized they had lost the one person who had held everything together. I stopped for only a second, just long enough for Emily's eyes to meet mine. She stiffened. Mom turned, her expression unreadable. For a brief second, I wondered if they would come up to me, if they would apologize. But they didn't. They knew. I wasn't theirs anymore. I turned and walked away, not sparing them another glance. I built a life for myself. A beautiful life. One where I mattered. Where I was cherished. Where I was loved, not for what I could give, but for who I was. And as for them, they faded into the past, just like the